in the hell is it more newsworthy to report that this man got into an argument with a fucking short order cook? And less important, to speak about the fact that he graduated with honors on the A&B honor roll at 17, not even 18 yet. Why is this? I don't understand what world we're living in. Well, this is what we rather promote.
It all started on a night when nobody expected anything serious to go down. T.I. was at home, minding his own business, spending time with his family, trying to enjoy a quiet evening, when suddenly his phone started blowing up. At first, he didn't even pay attention to it. He thought it was just another meme, another tag, another normal day on the internet. But the notifications wouldn't stop. His son King was calling him, friends were calling him, and even people from his team were sending him the same message over and over again. And when he finally clicked on one of the links, everything froze for a moment. Charleston White had done it again. But this time, it wasn't just disrespect. It was a direct shot at King Harris, T.I.'s own blood. The video had only been up for a few hours, but it was already everywhere. Charleston was on live, laughing, mocking, and dragging King like he had no limit, calling him names, accusing him of being a fake gangster, and even joking that King needed to be locked up for real. It wasn't just a joke to T.I., though. This was his child. And the internet could clown and laugh all they wanted, but when a grown man was crossing lines, speaking on a teenager like that, it hit differently. T.I. didn't even finish the video. He just put his phone down, took a deep breath, and sat there, staring, trying to decide if he should respond calmly, or let his anger speak for him. But before he could even gather his thoughts, King burst through the door. He was furious, pacing back and forth, shouting about how Charleston was playing with his name. King wasn't even trying to hide his anger. He told his dad that he was ready to pull up, ready to defend himself, ready to show the world he wasn't going to let a man old enough to be his grandfather embarrass him. But T.I. wasn't having it. He stood up, raised his voice, and told King to sit down. He wasn't about to let his son ruin his life because a man on the internet wanted attention. Still, the hurt in King's eyes was clear. He felt disrespected, humiliated, and pushed to a point where he didn't know how to stay calm. T.I. felt all of it, the weight, the anger, the responsibility, and that was what finally pushed him over the edge. He wasn't about to let someone attack his family and then hide behind a camera. He grabbed his phone, went live, and for the first time in a long time, the world saw T.I. not as the calm OG who preached about growth, but as a father who had reached his limit. His voice was steady, but the fire behind it was impossible to miss. He said he was tired of Charleston White's mouth. He said this wasn't entertainment anymore. He said people had confused the internet with real life for too long. And then he said the one thing that made everyone stop and hold their breath: "You talk about my son again, there will be consequences." That line alone sent the internet into chaos. Some people were cheering T.I. on, saying he had every right to defend his son. Others were warning him to be careful, telling him Charleston thrived on negativity and loved provoking people until they reacted. But T.I. didn't care. He wasn't doing this for clout or for views. He was doing this because he was a father. And at the end of the day, that title meant more to him than anything else. But Charleston White wasn't backing down. If anything, T.I.'s response made him even louder. The next morning, he went live again, this time screaming T.I.'s name, mocking King even harder, and even pretending to call the police on T.I. in real time. He laughed, saying he wasn't scared of no rapper. He said T.I. couldn't do anything to him because he would call the law. He even started telling stories about T.I.'s past, twisting things, adding details that weren't true, just to stir up more drama. The more Charleston talked, the more frustrated King became. He started posting his own messages, calling Charleston out, saying he wasn't afraid of him, saying Charleston was too old to be running his mouth like that. And while King was trying to stand up for himself, things quickly got out of hand. People online began clowning King, making memes, calling him soft, calling him entitled, calling him a rich kid trying to be tough. King tried to brush it off, but he's still a teenager. And no matter how strong he tried to look, the internet was wearing him down. T.I. saw all of it. Every post. Every joke. Every disrespect. And it broke him in ways he didn't expect. He wasn't just angry anymore, he was hurt. Because he had always tried to raise his kids right, teaching them principles, teaching them respect. And now the whole world was turning on his son because a grown man decided to pick on him for entertainment. So T.I. reached out to Charleston privately. He tried to be the bigger person. He tried to have a real conversation, man to man. He told Charleston he wanted to talk face to face, not online. But Charleston refused. He didn't want a conversation. He wanted content. That was when things took a darker turn. Someone leaked a clip of King crying behind the scenes. Nobody knows who filmed it, but the moment it hit the internet, everything exploded. King wasn't crying because he was scared. He was crying because he felt alone. He felt like he couldn't win. He felt like no matter what he said, the world was against him. In the clip, he said he was tired of being judged, tired of people assuming things about him, tired of being made into a joke. That video changed everything. Suddenly, the comments shifted. People felt bad for King. They started calling Charleston a bully. They started calling out adults for picking on a child. The whole situation flipped overnight. T.I. watched that shift happen in real time, and something inside him broke. He realized this wasn't just about a beef anymore. It wasn't about pride. It wasn't about checking another grown man. This was about protecting his son's mental health. So instead of going online again, T.I. took a different approach. He gathered his family together. Tiny, the kids, everyone. They sat down and talked. Really talked. It was the first time in a while that King opened up honestly. He talked about the pressure of being T.I.'s son, about the expectations, about trying to find himself while the world was always watching. He talked about his mistakes, but also about the things people misunderstood about him. That conversation changed T.I. too. He realized he had to protect his son not just physically, but emotionally. So he made a decision. He reached out to his lawyer and started exploring options, not to sue, but to put legal boundaries in place to stop Charleston from harassing his family. The internet didn't know this was happening yet, but behind the scenes, T.I. was moving with intention. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't threatening. He was acting like a father who refused to let anyone tear down his child. Meanwhile, Charleston kept going, clueless about what was happening behind the scenes. He kept posting video after video, thinking he had one. But suddenly, something unexpected happened. A close friend of Charleston went live, exposing what Charleston had been saying off camera. According to him, Charleston had admitted that he pushed things too far, that he targeted King on purpose because he knew it would get views, and that he didn't actually think King was a bad kid. He even admitted that he knew T.I. was a good father. But he wasn't willing to say any of that publicly because the controversy made him money. That confession spread fast. And for the first time, people were truly turning on Charleston. Even his supporters were confused. Even his fans were saying he crossed a line. And slowly, the pressure started eating away at him. He went live again, but this time he wasn't laughing as hard. He wasn't mocking as loudly. There was a hesitation. A crack in his confidence. He tried to keep the same energy, but the comments were different now. People were telling him to stop. Telling him to leave the kid alone. Telling him he looked desperate. And King saw all of it. For the first time since the whole mess began, he felt like the world wasn't against him anymore. He felt seen. He felt protected. He even made a short video thanking the people who finally stood up for him. It was the first time in weeks that he looked calm, like he could breathe again. T.I. finally stepped forward too, but not in anger this time. He released a long video talking about fatherhood, responsibility, and the importance of mental health, especially when it comes to young people growing up in the spotlight. He didn't mention Charleston's name once. He didn't need to. His message was bigger. He talked about how easy it is for the world to tear someone down and how hard it is for kids to grow up with millions of eyes watching their every move. His tone was calm, soft even, but the depth behind his words shook people. You could hear the pain, the exhaustion, and the love he had for his son. And the internet felt it too. People shared the video everywhere. Even celebrities chimed in, supporting T.I., supporting King, calling for better treatment of kids online. Slowly, the story changed from drama to a conversation about real-life consequences of online bullying. As for Charleston, he eventually went silent. No more videos. No more jokes. No more lives. Just silence. People started speculating, wondering if he had been warned, if the legal pressure got to him, or if he finally realized the damage he caused. But T.I. didn't care about explanations anymore. He wasn't looking for apologies. All he wanted was peace for his family. In the end, it wasn't T.I.'s anger that won the battle. It was his restraint. His wisdom. His decision to protect his son instead of feeding the fire. King learned something too, something about the world, about fame, and about himself. And though the situation was painful, it brought their family closer than before. And that was all that mattered to T.I., long after the internet moved on to the next headline. Even now, fans look back on the situation and say the same thing: this wasn't a story about beef. It was a story about a father's love, loud, protective, and unshakable. And no matter how much noise the world made, T.I. showed that when it comes to his children, he will always stand in front of the fire, no matter who is throwing the flames.